about this past year and what it was like and you know, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I have, and I think it's funny. I was talking to a high school coach this morning about one of our signees, and he was talking about how great a job our team did this year, and have you had a chance to really reflect on it? And what I told him is sometimes you don't appreciate a team until a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, when you have a chance to look at the teams after that and what they accomplished and how they did it. Sometimes you don't really appreciate really what this team accomplished until you move forward. It's hard to put into context how valuable this team is to our program. But it's going to be one of those where we will always be able to use the 2016 team when we're talking about mental toughness and competitiveness and being selfless and working towards a goal as a team of playing together through the good times and the bad times. What it's like to compete. It'll be a measuring stick for what being a true team is all about. And this team won 44 games, 24 come from behind wins. I may coach the rest of my career and never have a team do that. I mean, that's an unbelievable feat within itself. This team won Clemson's first ACC championship in 10 years. This team won more games in a season than any team in the last 6 years. With 44 wins. This team hosted a regional for the first time in 5 years. And this team did it with a lot of moving parts. Role players, platoon players, moving guys in and out at different positions, moving guys around into different roles within the pitching staff. What great storylines. Chris Oakey had a tremendous year, was a tremendous leader for us. Pat Krall, Seth Beer, the freshman phenom. Just a lot of different really cool stories. Mike Triller, ACC tournament MVP, a guy that didn't play a lot for us. Just a lot of, and I'm missing a lot of guys, but there's so many great storylines to this team, and it was a group of guys that believed in one another and bought in from day one to what we wanted them to do and how we wanted them to do it. And they worked extremely hard in all phases of the game and in the program. They just did a tremendous job. So it was a team of makeup, a team of toughness, and I couldn't have been prouder of what they did this year. But moving forward, and obviously we wanted to accomplish more. We also know that at the end of this season, we hosted a regional and we didn't get out of it. We're going to learn from this team as well and what we experienced about what do we need to do to get even better. And that's the key. The key is taking what we accomplished this year and learning from it and appreciating it, but also moving forward. What did we learn this year that can get us better moving into year two?
Chris, you mentioned Chris getting drafted tonight, and it's going to be a big moment for him. But can you talk about, I think people, they almost say they've underappreciated him, but in a way some have, because the guy's caught every game for the last 2.5 years. Can you talk about how difficult that is, and then to put up the numbers that he did at the plate, considering, he caught every game for 2.5 seasons?
Well, I think physically it takes a special kid to be able to play the toughest position on the field in catcher. I mean, it takes a special kid from a physical and a mental standpoint to be able to play catcher. It takes a special kid to be able to play every single game, start every single game behind the plate over the last 2 years like he did. But the thing about Oakey is I don't think people quite understand how valuable he was to this program in terms of his leadership and his makeup. He was the straw that stirred the drink, so to speak. He was the guy that everybody looked to when we needed leadership. He was the guy that everybody looked to when it came time to policing our team and getting our guys going in the right direction. He was the guy that we went to as coaches when a message needed to be sent to the team through the leader of the program and the team. So we can't replace him. That's the thing about this team in particular that made it so special, is that Chris Oakey was the catalyst. He was the leader of this team. The reason we overachieved was because of a guy like Chris Oakey, because we could not have done it without him. If you take Chris Oakey off this team and put somebody else behind the plate, we don't win 44 games. I promise you that. So that's the biggest piece that we're going to lose is, do we have somebody in this program who can assume that leadership and keep the chemistry the way it was? And he exemplified all of that. So I think I don't know, you have a special group of players over the course of your time as a coach when it comes to the impact that they had on your program. He's definitely one of those guys.
How does Seth Beard get better in year 2?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know. Maybe we can get him to steal a few bases. No. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm a really big Seth Beer fan. Just even though I coach him, I watch him a lot more than I coach him, just because he's so special from a talent standpoint. But there are things that he can do to get better. I think the one thing that Seth will have going into the fall is he'll have a full off season of training. We weren't able to give him the type of training that he needs, like most freshmen coming into year one. Our freshmen came into summer school and lifted 5 times a week in summer school throughout the whole summer, trained and got that experience before they even started fall. And then when we got into fall, we lifted 4 times a week as a team. So our guys got all that time to develop and focus on their body to get stronger and put them in the position to be the best player they could be. Seth didn't get any of that. He didn't get the time in the weight room that he needed. So I think going into year 2, the one thing that will really benefit Seth is the strength and conditioning and agility training that he will get next fall. So you put another 15 pounds on him and try to get him faster, work on his foot speed, which is an area that he knows he needs to work on. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm also looking forward to seeing him become more of a leader, on our team. I think he has great leadership qualities as a young man, even as a true freshman. But he's going to have to assume more of a leadership responsibility on our team next year because he's the guy that everybody's going to be looking to. So that's the big things that he's got to work on. We're going to move him into the infield. We're going to try him at first base in the fall and see if that's something that can happen for him. On paper, it could make us better potentially if he can play first base. So we're going to move him in there and see if we can turn him into a viable option at first base. And we'll look at all the other parts and see how it fits. And if he can play first base, great. And if we need to move him back to the outfield, we will. But that will be, I would say, as far as him getting better in the fall, we got to get him faster. We got to get him stronger. And we're going to try to see if first base is an option for him as well.
What will your next couple of months consist of, schedule-wise for you?
Well, the first thing that we're all focusing on right now is the draft and how it impacts us. That's going to be the big thing. We've got a couple guys that could go tonight. So we're going to be watching and waiting to see how the domino effect starts based on that. Whether we wind up getting a guy or two into school, or whether we lose them to the draft, and how that affects us. So that's the big priority right now. Is we gotta get through the next 3 days of the draft and let the dust settle from there. Once we get through that, my focus is on recruiting. I mean, that's our focus for the summer is trying to make sure that as a coaching staff we do everything we can to recruit the best players with the best makeup and toughness that we can to make sure that we can make the type of run that we want to make throughout the regular season and the postseason.
Anything else?